Welcome, everyone, to the series finale of Andor, a Star Wars podcast. Justin, we did it, buddy.
A series finale? It's
series. I know. I remember when we started this season, I didn't know that this was the last season.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, no.
I got
no way.
something because of it's being a series finale.
It is a series finale.
Yeah, I want to show you.
Yeah.
So you know how I love Star Wars, right?
I heard you're a big Star Wars fan. Yeah. What is he talking about?
So I got something, kind of remember the podcast.
Oh, okay.
So check it out
Very
right
nice.
here. It's cool, right? It's got.
You've derailed the show from the very beginning.
It's got LaForge, right? Deanna Troi, Riker.
What is he doing?
Data, Beverly.
Oh my God.
Picard, and Worf. Yeah.
None of those
the whole
are
cast.
Andor.
No, it's not Andor, but it's just another franchise.
The only thing they have in common is the word star. That's it.
It's the Star series.
It's the star. Oh my God.
Look,
whether it's a war or a trek, we're into it.
I like Star Wars too.
How dare you? This is a Star Wars podcast. How dare you, Justin?
We don't
overall.
Judge.
We don't judge. We don't judge. I like
Star
Star Trek
for
also.
Everybody.
Star is for us all. Oh my God. Yeah, so we got to say hi real quick to a few people. Kevin, always I appreciate you gifting memberships, buddy. Always awesome. Fox, when are you going to have Moat on your show again? Whenever Moat wants to come on. All he has to do is say, hey, Fox, can I come on? I'm like, yes. Kevin also has some good news. He has secured a space in line to buy the Switch 2. People left and right are offering me 30K more for this opportunity. Wow. This guy's off his rocker here. Since you are a nice guy, I would never take advantage of you. I'll trade you my Switch 2 for your... That's not going to happen at all, ever. Keep in mind, this is just for the spot in line. You will still need to pay for the Switch 2. But you... Wait a minute. What is going on? It's already... Okay, here we have Stringer Films coming in with something pertaining to what we're talking about tonight. He still has 2 episodes to watch, so I'm turning this off. Damn you. Well, come back after you watch it, and then we can actually talk about everything together. Kevin Wong is also here. J. Rod, what's going on? Happy Witching Hour. That's right, it is. The midnight show. It's 12 a.m. by YouTube. Yeah, exactly. What's up, Fox and Kits? Israel, great to see you, man, as always. The Fist of Love is also here. I was going to settle down for the night, but now this. We're going to have you unsettled for sure. And then Mark James is also here saying, hey, he's a bit, yes, Justin is a pinball fanatic. And the Nerd Jock is also here saying, yo, right back to you. Justin, how do you feel? No spoilers. We've come to the end of what I thought was originally going to be the season. Nay, it is the series.
This may be the best thing Disney has produced after taking ownership of the Star Wars franchise. Last week, I had mentioned that Mandalorian holds the spot for the number one thing that Disney has done. And while that may be true from a certain point of view, from the point of view of like, Mando came at a perfect time.
It really did.
Baby Yoda, pandemic, we all watched it together.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of spread viral throughout the world. So it felt like we were enjoying Mandalorian season 1 and season 2 with so many other people. But if you take episode by episode, if you say this story in this episode of Mandalorian versus this story or maybe an arc in Andor, mm-hmm. I think there's times where you have to say Andor actually shines brighter than Mandalorian.
Andor has the huge benefit of being bookended by 2 great trilogies. Mandalorian does not have that benefit. Right. It really doesn't. You've got one of the greatest spaces to play in. Original trilogy, prequels. That time between is such a great. It's just full of opportunity, right? I think that's why they've done so much of that. Um, I I went back and forth. You said this is the best thing that Disney has ever produced or since acquiring Star Wars. I thought, is this the best Star Wars we've had since 2005, since Revenge of the Sith? Is it better than anything that has been produced non George Lucas? And
Let me ask you this:
go
Can I
ahead.
narrow it down? Is it
Sure.
better than the sequel trilogy?
Without a doubt.
Is it better
Without
than
a doubt.
Solo?
Yes.
And you can't really say is it better than Rogue One because it complements Rogue One.
It's a companion piece to Rogue
Yeah.
One. So I think yeah, I think what you said is fair. You not necessarily you can't really. It's almost an unfair comparison in some ways
Yeah.
because they are. Anybody who's seen these episodes, you understand these are Lego pieces that fit together. You just almost can't have one without the other.
Did you? So after I finished watching these episodes, still
Mhm.
spoiler free. Did you also watch at least like the first 20 minutes of Rogue?
It's so funny you say that. That's exactly what I did.
That's
I
exactly.
immediately went to. I immediately went to Rogue One.
And how
I
did you
just
feel about that?
be,
When you that I didn't watch
it's
the whole thing. It was super late, so I was like, just
I
give me a
didn't either.
taste.
I didn't either. I didn't either. I actually skipped over the very beginning. I wanted to
Yep.
get to Andor. I wanted to see
This.
what Andor was. I wanted to see that
Yeah. How did
continuation.
it connect? Yeah.
It,
Same thing.
I think it was seamless. I think it really was done very well. I think that it was just very much a continuation.
I'm gonna have to
They just
disagree
flowed
with
into
you
each
there.
other. How dare you?
I'm gonna pull a 19K Fox and say something controversial.
Mm,
No, I agree with you generally, but there's one thing that I noticed.
the jacket wasn't the same.
It was the production quality went way down. So when
From
you
the show.
the show has, in my opinion, higher quality production
Okay,
value.
okay, okay.
And when you see Diego, what's his name? Diego something?
Luna, yeah.
Luna? When
Mhm.
you see him acting in Andor, especially the last 3 episodes, the
Yeah.
emotion and the drive and all of that, and then you see him in the beginning of Rogue One, you're like, he's a mature actor now.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I think you're absolutely right. You've got someone who's got some experience now. Yeah, that's fair. I think it's very fair. I still
Doesn't
thought it
make
was
it
a
bad. It's
no,
just,
it doesn't make it bad. I think
yeah.
great transition flows right into the movie. So as far as spoiler free goes, I think that if I was to um, categorize or rate this series, which is something I've asked you to do in the poll. We have a poll question tonight. Live chat. You can jump up here and let me know what you're thinking. I didn't give you F as a possibility, not to say that it maybe the series did fail in some aspects, but I only have 4 slots anyway. So I thought, here's what I wanted to do: give you the opportunity. The question is, how would you rate the entire Andor series? A, B, C, or D? Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm interested to what everybody thinks. I think that it's probably overall, and I think Mandalorian suffers from season 3.
Yeah.
And the highlight for me was Luke Skywalker, which
Yeah.
I'm kind of a sucker anyway, so
Yeah.
it's almost like a cheat code. I think this is absolutely the best series that Disney has done. It's the best Star Wars series, and I love the Clone Wars animated series and all that. But I think that this, for me, it's not perfect. We'll get into flaws later. But for me, I think it's the best series, Star Wars related, period.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right. Like if I were to say, okay, we're just talking about scenes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's see. So in the episode, it's probably Who Are You? Episode 8, right? Episode 8. If you compare episode 8 with the all of the scenes that are happening on that planet where, the what is it called? The actual um attack takes place,
Hmm.
um between the people, the Gamar, is that what I can't remember what it's called. I
Oh,
don't know.
it's it is okay. Hold on, give me just one second. I wrote it down. Page 12. It's a Gorman. Gorman.
Gorman.
Gorman. Yep.
If you compare that to the scene with Luke Skywalker, I probably the Luke Skywalker scene is
Of
more epic.
course. I
Yeah.
mean, if you were stuck watching one scene, it's
Yeah.
probably gonna be Luke. Like I said, it's almost like a cheat code at this point. But
Right.
I think for me, this was the side of Star Wars I wanted to see. I love the Jedi. I love the mysticism. I love that. Don't get me wrong. But for me, this is the lull between. You have the Jedi at their full power in the
Mhm.
prequels. They're defeated.
Mhm.
This is that lull. This is that absence of force wielders for the most part. This is the
Yeah.
absence of the Jedi. This is the vacuum that is filled with everything else. This is regular human beings or humanoids, I guess, in Star Wars, having to deal with this and rise up and say we're not going to take this anymore. And the seedy underbelly and the dirtiness and the ambiguity and the choices that had to be made and the sins that these people have to live with. It's what I wanted to see, because we get plenty of lightsabers. We get all that in other ways and other forms in the main trilogies. Um, this is just what I wanted. It's kind of the way that Mandalorian started, and then it became the Grogu story, and I really
Yeah.
wanted more of the dirty Western, you know.
Right.
But that takes place after Return of the Jedi, so it's almost out of place, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's just my 2 cents. So I think that I would rate this the best Star Wars series front to back. It's got a definitive beginning and end. Flawed, yes, we'll talk about some of that. Not perfection, but man, it's just a good watch. It really is just a good watch. Just acting is on just really great. Like
Yeah.
universally, I mean, even characters I don't like, they act well. Like the
Yeah.
actor is not the problem. The decisions that are made, and that's kind of the fun of it. So, but I think it's really good. Yeah, it's definitely something. If you don't like Disney Star Wars, I think you're gonna like this.
Yeah.
I think you really will. This is
Yeah,
good.
it's weird because I had recently seen some rumors how um what was it? That some of the people that were writing some of the other shows don't really like that Andor is succeeding because it's like Tony Gilroy is not necessarily a part of the prime Star Wars fandom storytelling,
Right, right,
like
right,
some of
right.
the other writers. But he's
Mm-hmm.
actually I had read that after Tony Gilroy had finished doing Rogue One,
Mm-hmm.
he got a call from George Lucas, and George Lucas talked to him for 30 minutes and essentially explaining how he really loved Rogue One.
Can
And
you
that,
imagine? Can you
yeah,
imagine? What a compliment. Oh, it's
he said it
so.
felt like the president had called him,
I,
and
I would
said,
I would
"Good
agree,
job,"
right?
right?
If I made a little stop motion video of Star Wars characters and George Lucas called me, I'm like, oh my god,
Right.
you liked really? Yes, that would be an incredible conversation. So yeah, so I guess we thumbs up is probably
Yeah.
appropriate. I
I
think.
I
Yeah.
hold on a second. Let me see if two thumbs up
What?
works. Am I getting no,
Okay.
hold on. Do I
Oh, we're
not
not
have
on Apple, are we?
yeah, no. Give me 1 second. Okay. There.
Oh, very nice. Very, very good. No, I think it's something that I'm happy I watched. I'm happy I watched it and I was down on Disney Star Wars, but this is not fair. You get all the cool stuff. Yeah. So that's probably going to be it for spoilers because we are at the end. We have a lot to talk about. This is not a perfect series, even though I'm singing his praises. There are some things we got to discuss. I guess we just got to start at the beginning, right? We got to
Yeah.
start with. I'm gonna preface it with this tension,
Wow.
desperation,
Yes.
weight. I mean, you really begin to, like, right off the bat, we begin to sort of feel, okay, this is all coming to a head. So Luthen gets the call from his source within the ISB. It's he's found something. He's found something, and this is a conversation they have on a park bench. What do you think?
Yeah, this was cool
Thoughts?
because, we had uh even among the fandom that's been discussing Andor, we were like, really? The MacGuffin, and they
Mm-hmm.
decided it to be some mineral. And what this officer was saying was partly what we already knew, but also he was kind of alluding to it's much bigger, that, essentially, this is for, we all knew this was for the Death Star, but he starts talking about kyber crystals
Mm-hmm.
and Jeddah and Urso, and starts revealing the
Yes.
names that are leading us um into Rogue One. All the pieces of the puzzle that we had partly known, and he's kind of exposing, it ties together. And then, Luthen needs to know all the details, but the guy's holding back, because
Yeah.
he wants protection. And
He's got a
I
wife and
thought,
kids. Yeah.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, he's joined the rebellion, right?
Yeah.
This will be him taking. He's gonna grab him and be like, all right, let's go. But
But then
that's
we
not what
see
happened.
that's so, yeah, so this is the weight of everything, the importance of secrecy, this guy was an informant basically for all these years. He's got a wife
Hmm.
and kids. He wants safe passage for his family. He spills the beans to Luthen. Luthen kills him.
Yeah,
I mean, it's you're like, and you don't see
I
it immediately. You see Luthen meeting up with Clea, and then they cut back and you see he's on the park bench, he's dead. You're like,
yeah,
oh my.
I was.
It's just like, yeah, right off the bat,
Yeah, Han shot first, right? Like it's
it's real.
it's real.
It's it. I mean, it's just like right off the bat for me, it's setting the stage of just very, like this is heavy.
Yeah,
It's like when you were watching The Walking Dead, if you watch that series and then like main characters die, you're like, whoa, this is real. Like anything could happen. Um, this was wild. This was wild that he was just executed like that. But it's the desperation,
yeah,
immediately the pressure. You kind of feel that, and he runs back to Clea, and he's like, let's enact a plan. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go destroy everything at the shop. And she's like, no, I'll do it. And he said, no, you go meet me. I'll go do it.
yeah. He knew. They both knew what
They knew.
that meant.
When they're looking at each other, once again, back to the great acting, they're saying so much with their face and expressions, and you're feeling like you're feeling their desperation at this point. I mean, I was, it's crazy. I was so locked in where other episodes I had to kind of get going,
Yeah,
to get, I
yeah,
was almost immediately locked in.
yeah,
This episode, I was like, man, it's, I mean, like the cloak and dagger stuff, those, that's all gone, and we're in like, we've got to cut and run. And then I think they say that we stayed here too long, we've stayed on course not too long, and it's just desperate. You're just like, okay, well, you're with them, you guys got to run, go get safe. And then he goes back to the shop and he pours the acid on the communication board.
right.
And then what happens, Justin?
And then he gets a visit from a friend. This episode is fantastic because it's the Luthen episode, right?
Yes,
It's,
yes.
I think Tony Gilroy had told the actor, you're going to get your own episode. I don't even know if Andor is in this episode. If
He's
he
not.
Yeah.
He's not. No, he's not. Not
And
at
it's
all.
one of the best episodes, and the main character's not even in it. But it's also like, I don't know, like Star Trek Next Generation, when like it's a Data episode, you're like, yeah, it's a Data episode.
We love Data.
Yeah, but this, and you're already talking about how there was tension, and then they crank it up to 11 because it's like, okay, these people have been like, she knows it's him,
It's
and
like, well, I didn't know that at first. I was like, okay, Deidre comes in. What if she's really just following up on some lead? She doesn't really know anything. Maybe she's just stopping by to buy something. I don't know if I'm just a sucker, but I'm like, does she? Because you don't know.
Maybe you missed it, because there's a few questions I have about this episode where I was like, or not this, I think it's the next 2 episodes,
Right.
that I'm like, I need to rewatch because I don't understand something.
Mhm.
But I think they were like, Deidre's on to you.
Right.
And like, if she shows up, that means she's caught you.
Well, I knew that.
And
I
so
knew that they
when
were.
she was at the door, it was like, yep, it's done.
Well, I know Andor was telling him in the last set of episodes, those last 3 that we just watched, you got to get out of here. They're on to. I think he said they're on to you. Maybe he didn't say Deidre specifically, but you're exactly right. It's like, it's you've stayed there too long. They're on to you, and I think that he was just trying to be there as long as he had to be there, to make sure he could, stay in tune with what was going on. But she shows up. You see what she pulls out of the box, right?
Right. This is season 1, right?
Yes. Yeah, I love the callbacks start immediately.
Yeah.
This is the thing that Andor was trying to sell Luthen to get like 40,000 credits or whatever to get off the planet. And you see it's tattered. I guess it was part of it was in that skirmish they had. And she's like, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Luthen sees that, and he's like, well, there's absolutely no doubt. But it's so cool.
She's like, I've waited for this moment. That's where she, as an actress, if you've seen her in interviews, like, she's 2 different people, right? There's Deidre, and then there's Denise, right? Or the actress, whatever her name is.
And she's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. And she like gets into character, and that character is so perfect where she revels in this, like, oh, I got you.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this.
But she doesn't get him, right?
Because he takes the ceremonial dagger he was showing her as
when he was going to get it. He knew what he was getting.
He knew what he was doing. I think he knew the jig was up as soon as he saw her face, but he still put on the act.
Yeah.
In the hope that maybe, just maybe. So as she's calling in backup, he cuts himself open right there in the gut. I mean, just cuts himself open, attempting suicide. Of course, they rush in with all the technology that they have to preserve him, put him in an ambulance, flies away. They got to keep him alive. They got to find out what he knows. And there's this great scene before he does that where she tells him that. She's like, you'll tell us everything you know, and he knows they have their ways. That's why he does that. And you're just like, this is like the first few minutes of the episode. Whoa.
Yeah.
What are we doing? It's crazy. But I think we knew that Luthen probably was going to die because he's not in Rogue One or anything else.
So crazy. Yeah. I figured he would die, but I didn't know he was going to get an entire episode, right? Where it's epic. And I thought it was just going to be some casualty of war. Like some stormtrooper shoots him as he's running.
Right. Dies off screen or something, but
he made it worth it.
His character made it worth it.
Yes.
But the show makes it worth it. He was so instrumental and crucial to this uprising that he needed his own episode. We hear so much about this this woke stuff. Girl power, girl boss, and I saw a little bit of that in this series, or I thought I did, and I was concerned that it was going to sort of tarnish this character. It didn't happen. This episode was him. This episode was people devoted to him. It was him giving himself for this cause. It reinforced him. It was so great because you remember season 1 he's got his ship and he's outrunning the the Star Destroyer, not outrunning it but outmaneuvering it, and we're like, this guy's he's slick, he's on top of it. When he first went in, when he would put on the mask, which was the wig, right, and he would physically transform into the character, we're like, this guy is devoted. And I'm to your point, I'm glad he wasn't just killed by a stray blaster bolt. That would have been
Right.
disappointing and unfitting of the character. So I'm glad the character got this episode.
While
And
I
what
agree
an
with
episode
you,
it was. Okay,
I
go
don't
ahead.
think this was actually Luthen's episode. And to your point about woke and girl power,
Yeah.
what we saw in this episode. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, right? Like when you see like sometimes we use the term, shoehorned in.
Yes.
It's the way we feel about how, you're taking a character that hasn't earned the power and trying to say they have the power, and then people will react and say, what are you doing? Like, you're making this woman a character
Mm-hmm.
trying to be masculine, but like it's not earned. It doesn't make any sense. This episode was all about Clea, and it starts to reveal in the flashbacks
Oh,
that she's the mastermind out of the pair.
in
That
a way.
she's smarter than him. And then, dude, I'm gonna jump ahead just for a second.
Go
Linda
ahead.
Hamilton in Terminator 2 is
Yes.
a powerful character, right?
Yes.
Would you agree?
I agree,
Her
100%.
in Terminator
Well,
2.
In Terminator
going-
2, yes. Not in
Terminator
Terminator
2.
1, but in Terminator 2, yes.
She went through pain in Terminator 1, then Terminator 2. When she's storming the hospital, she's got all the guns.
Yep.
And she's all that. And
Yep.
there's no doubt where her power
Yep.
comes from.
Mhm.
But then it's this mix of this motherly figure where she's going to save her son, and there's all of that mix, right?
Right.
And she's trying to escape the hospital, actually, is what she's trying to do. But the son comes in later. But Clea, when she's going to, I'm jumping ahead just for a second, going to save Luthen, she has that
Yes.
same determination as like a
Yes.
Linda Hamilton
Yes.
in Terminator 2.
I felt that. Absolutely.
And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, she's powerful.
But
She earned it.
But I think she earned it. I don't think that it was, for me, it wasn't unreasonable because she uses deceit. She uses espionage.
Yeah.
She's not physically overpowering grown men, to a point where this is not believable. She's cold and calculated, and turns out that once we see the flashbacks, she's had to sort of be this way
Yeah.
her whole life.
See, she has a better backstory than Rey.
Of course,
The biggest problem
listen,
everyone
dude,
has with Rey is where did she learn these skills?
it's got nothing to
in
do with
just
her.
a few minutes, they explain her,
Yes.
Clea.
Ray, the problem with Ray, it's got nothing to do with the actress. It's got nothing to do with her performance. It's got nothing to do with the fact that women can be Jedi. It's all over the prequels. It's because they never explain anything or develop that character. That's all. That's the only problem. Because this becomes an episode of the pairing. Not just Luthen, but Clea as well.
Fair.
And you see
Yes,
this.
you're right.
And I've got a theory I'm going to say for later.
Okay.
But so he is on a ship. They're doing their Imperial, executions, basically, right? They're attacking. And he goes into the ship and he's like, please make it stop. Just make it, like, he just wants it to stop. He just like, he's taking a drink of a flask, right? It's horrible. And then he finds the stowaway on their ship, which happens to be in this place, in this case, Clara. And that's how they meet for the first time. And you see his sympathy. You see his, he wants to preserve life. He tells her to be quiet, and then eventually they run away together.
Mhm.
Who is that?
I think that we probably remember earlier when I said I had some questions. I
One,
need to go back and watch
2,
it.
3. Andor's
Andor's
sister. Yes. Okay, you're thinking the exact. Okay. So
There's
I had
articles
to go
online
back.
where he denies. Tony Gilroy says that's not Andor's sister. He would
and
not
it's not
do that.
clear. It's not clear. I watched obviously all 3 episodes. I went back to season 1 and rewatched those first 3 where the whole sister thing is going on. It's confusing. We'll get to what we saw in other episodes later. Let's focus on this episode now.
I swear there's an episode where she says Casa, right?
Dude, like
and I was like, oh, they did it. Yeah. And then I was like, and
okay.
The entire thing, when it ends, I was like, oh, he didn't never figure out it's his sister. But they showed
if you go back to season 1, remember when Cassian is saved by his adopted mother and father, they're talking about the Imperial freighter that's in orbit, right? And is coming down.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought was Luthen was on that freighter. He was part of the attack squad that executes everybody, and his sister sneaks on the ship.
Right.
Doesn't that make sense?
Yes.
But
I think that is what happened. And
that's what I'm assuming.
They were like, it's a little cheesy, so let's not make it clear.
Oh, brother, we got to talk about
obvious.
This. That's what I started thinking. Wait a minute, is this his sister? So Clea was his sister the whole time. So anyway, so that's what I thought.
Yeah.
We don't know that yet. This is only episode 10, so we'll get to 11 and 12, and we'll give our final thoughts. But that's what we saw. That's what I saw. So it's cool that you thought the same thing. Because I'm like, dude, that no way. Because he left his sister. So anyway, so Luthen is taken away. She has to do this pretty cool. I think it was good. I think this. I didn't get girl boss. I thought it was good. She fakes having an injury. Did you notice that when she walks into the hospital? She has this wrap on her hand with the fake blood, and I'm like, okay, so she's walked. Wow, she's faking that she walks in. She uses this decryptor disc to open up the locker of the nurses, and she puts on the nursing outfit, and she's going up, and I'm thinking she's going to save him.
Right.
She's trying to save him. Right. Maybe she won't be successful, and no, she knows exactly what she has to do. It's brutal, but it shows. She knows the mission, and she knows what Luthen would want her to do.
Right.
She finally makes her way, finds him, and what does she do? She disconnects the life support system.
So I had thought that when she pressed the button, I thought she was going to kill him then. Like, I was back and forth, right? I was like, she's going to save him. She's going to kill him. Yeah. And then when she pressed the button, I thought the explosion was him. Like, he had a bomb inside.
Oh, that's a good point. I thought that's a great
she just
point.
Needed to be near him.
Yes.
But then when all I saw it was a distraction, I was like, oh no, it's a distraction.
Well, she's gonna save him. Yeah. And I that's so funny. God, I thought the same thing. I thought he had some kind of. I thought maybe he cut himself open and put a bomb in himself or something insane. But no, that wasn't the case. The bomb was a distraction. She makes her way in there. She disconnects the life support system, and we see this character just break.
Yeah,
just break. It's and there's these great flashbacks of them kind of making their way, and she helps kind of manipulate some situations, and he's pushing her, but he doesn't want to push her too much. There's a scene where
can we mention that? Sort of like they're on Naboo, right?
I thought the same thing, Justin. Yeah. Damn it! I thought they were on Naboo.
Awesome. I think they're on Naboo. I'm pretty sure.
And they're basically terrorists. Like they're blowing up. Like they're planting these bombs in Imperial, warships or whatever. And it looks like they're sitting on Naboo. There's a bridge in the background. Mm-hmm. 2 vehicles, and he's telling her that she needs to push the button to blow them up, and then she goes to do it. And he's like, no. He wanted her to, I think maybe show the initiative, but not actually have the weight and the guilt of the actual death, right?
Right.
So I thought that was, once again, great acting, powerful scene. I thought they were on Naboo also. That's so funny. I thought the same thing.
I looked it up. They were.
Yeah. Oh, they actually were on Naboo.
I found an article that they were talking about it, that
I love this.
they built a set to look like Naboo and all that.
No, I love it. I love it. It's not to me. It's not member berries. To me, it's just great. I just love it.
It's subtle
keep it
too. They
going.
didn't shove it down your throat. And then
Right.
all of that was great, because then even when he blew it up, he's like, "Don't look." Okay, now look. It was like this, like
Right.
very like, you can't look right away. You need to delay. Now look, and now we got to get out of here.
I don't want you to see too much. I don't want you to see the grotesqueness of it. You're too young, but you do need to see the results.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly. It was all structured. And
I was also thinking maybe it was like you can't look so quickly, because it'll, maybe people will notice that you look so quickly.
It's like a tell. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was also
hard to tell.
I think that's a really good point. I also thought it was a little bit of a fatherly instinct where you're trying to preserve a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
of
the innocence to an extent. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe he was also conflicted himself. She's so young. Maybe I shouldn't be showing her this much death and destruction, because she's, I don't know, 15, 12, whatever. But I thought it was obviously very, very emotional, very powerful. Luthen and Clea get their own episode. Luthen unfortunately does die. Clea did what she had to do, and she did what Luthen would have wanted her to do.
The only thing I disliked about Luthen dying was then the next two episodes is a constant, "Hey, Luthen died. Hey, did you know Luthen died?
And
hey,
you should be super sad about that.
Luthen died." Like,
and you're not sad enough.
I kind of wish, like, I think it was too much of Andor constantly telling people, but it's hard because in shows, a lot of times they won't repeat themselves. Like, they'll be like, "Hey, I have to tell you something. Okay, I'm telling you the details about it." And then in the next scene, there's other people that don't know about it, and they don't want to retell it in the show because that'll get annoying. So usually they'll have the other character go, "Oh, so I heard." So there was never, "Oh, I heard about Luthen. I'm so sorry." It was always "I'm going to tell you, now you need to be shocked, and then you need to give me a hug, and then we're going to end this scene, and then Andor is going to go tell someone else that Luthen died, and they're going to hug." I mean, that's life, I guess,
I guess, but I think I'm with you. I think to streamline these last three episodes, it could have just been that Luthen was universally respected.
Yeah.
Maybe not loved, but respected. And so when they say Luthen died, everybody, including Bail Organa, is mournful, but then we can move on. Because to your point, it was a little bit too much.
But it was still better than how they treated Han.
Oh, your God. Exponentially.
I mean, Luthen didn't get a funeral either, but still.
But he had an entire episode devoted to his death, and then we get to see reactions of his death for 2 more episodes, which Han is literally just like, he just shoved off a cliff or a bridge, I guess.
What did they do? He's like, "Where's Han? That's all you get?"
Where's Han? I don't know. Whatever. Let's go. It's we don't even want to talk about that. It's horrible. So so that episode ends, and it's traumatic, obviously, but a lot of great acting, and you definitely feel the weight of everything, and you understand that in a way this is all collapsing, and so now it's we've got the veil has been torn off, and now it's like rebellion and empire. Here we go. Speaking of here we go, we got our girl is in the hot seat in the next episode. And Krennic is just laying into her. I mean, it just starts off where Deidre's her desire to get this thing solved, to find Andor, to be the one that is able to put her stamp on it. Her ambition is absolutely squashed in this episode. Krennic literally just gets up in her face in an interrogation. I thought this scene was slick, and it was just great, and I loved it. Tell me what are your thoughts?
So I loved it as well. The acting by both actors were fantastic, and you get to see her, Deidre, like She doesn't understand why she's being interrogated. She's a good bad person.
She thought so. Yeah.
You know, and then now I will also say I read some tweets about this that are kind of funny. You know, you can poke at any story, but the joke was, so the fall of the Empire started with Deidre reading the wrong emails. Because basically that's what happened is
basically, yeah.
But she's like, look, I was looking for, Luthen, and I'm looking for Andor, and none of you guys believed me, and no one wanted to so I went into dark areas that I'm not supposed to look in, and I also discovered some other things, and then which gained me access to information I shouldn't have had, and then one of my coworkers also had my login. And sorry, he saw the plans for the Death Star and then told Luthen about it.
And to be fair, the flaw in the Death Star was engineered, by Jyn Erso's dad,
right.
Galen. So that was a downfall of the first Death Star. But this, and it is funny.
He's all like, we were under embargo.
We were under.
Palpatine's going to be the one that
what were you thinking?
This new product, and it got leaked to the YouTubers.
And it is kind of crazy to think that a planet-killing weapon the size of a small moon, you could keep that secret for 10 years. The galaxy is pretty big, and I get that, but there's so many people working on this. It is wild to think that they could keep this under wraps, and they even say that.
They could have been they could have solved it in one little scene. Palpatine had the power of, remember the movie The Shadow?
Oh, okay.
Where they hide an entire building? Palpatine hid an entire Death Star.
Well, he could speak how many Star Destroyers into existence. He could definitely just have like a cloaking spell or something. I don't know. Just make them invisible.
It was easy. They just put it on the other side of the planet.
Yeah. It was hiding behind another moon. Yeah.
So
basically, to break the first episode down is Luthen is found out, commits suicide, and then Clea has to pull the plug.
Yep.
This episode, they got to get Clea, which is basically it, because we have the interrogation of Deidre. Clea goes back to the safe house, sends a super secret message on a super secret device that was actually buried inside of a wall. We do get to see Andor and K2SO and another coworker, another co-rebellion guy, playing cards, playing dice, playing dominoes, whatever it is.
That was fun.
That was pretty cool. I just love the interaction with K2SO. It's just such a well-developed.
So they're on Yavin, right? And it's a year's gone by. And
a year's gone by.
The house
that Andor and Bix.
But now it's like a bachelor pad, basically.
That's what happens. Yeah.
You can see they've played a lot together, because even K2SO mentions that, we've played 138
we've played
times
800 times or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
So it was cool that they were showing that they've bonded a lot, and they're doing a lot of heavy drinking and. But hey, they got to get to business soon.
Yeah, because then they finally, with Willman deciphering the code or just receiving the message, and then they're trying to validate back and forth. Is it real? Is it fake? And then you still have ISB. The Imperials are trying to track all this down and trying to figure out what's going on, and they're trying to find Clea because
pretty quick.
And her face.
It's because that one dude talked to Deidre.
Yep.
And Deidre is all like, "Oh, you should look into this." And it's like, next thing you know, they were on it.
Yeah. She's like, "Hey, go back, look at the old codes, the old transmission methods. You'll find something there." They go back. They latch onto that because she transmits again, and this is a very archaic, even for Star Wars, a very archaic type of device, like a Morse code type device. And there's some debate back and forth. Andor leaves to go get Clea. That's a big problem because we have everybody on Yavin saying, "Listen, we have to stay shrouded in secret." And I guess he hasn't spoken to Luthen anyway in a year, so
Right.
and it's unclear if it's just Clea or if it's Luthen or both. They don't know,
Right.
and so they take off to go to the safe house to find out who's there, who's waiting. They need to pick up somebody, and it leads to some pretty cool scenes. But overall, not a ton of stuff really happens in this episode other than we get to catch up with Andor. They receive the signal. They got to go get Clea, but they don't know if it's Clea and Luthen. They have no idea. It's so
Yeah,
dark. I couldn't
good.
lighten up these images.
Yeah, good action sequence. You could see.
Excellent.
So you
Tension.
see that Andor is going rogue before Rogue One.
Yes, he's
kind of
actually
rebelling
rogue.
against the rebellion.
He rebels against rebellion. Very good. Yes.
And he's like, I'm out. I got to do this. I don't care about the rules,
Yep.
because these people are important. So that establishes how much he cares for Luthen. And then, he assumes Luthen's alive, probably, right? But he finds out he's not. And then you get to see all these great scenes with K2SO. It is a must. Like you said, there's not a lot that's going on, but it's a must-watch episode because
if you were to write down what happens, it's just like it's one sentence, but
Right.
it's the scenes that make it. So, and I apologize for some of the images here. It's very dark, but you have the upper image is going to be Andor and his co-rebellion guy. I don't even know who this guy's name is. I apologize, but you have these great scenes of this is the hallway going to the safe house. It's kind of a part of the safe house we never saw. We saw the safe house many times. We never saw how they got there. It's an interesting detail. This looks like it's actually a part of a bigger complex that's under construction.
Right.
So it's very much out of the way. No one would have even suspected that anyone was there at all, right? So
That's
I
right.
thought that was a cool small detail. But then you have them going to investigate who's there. Then you have the stormtroopers en route. They get there. They find out that Luthen's actually died, and Clea is trying to just convey the message
Right.
of what Luthen, told her. She's kind of given up. She's sort of like, I just wanted to tell you what Luthen wanted me to tell you, and she's almost just resigned to I'm just going to die here. It's
Yeah.
she's still distraught. Yeah.
I love how these 3 episodes play out because at a highlight, right? A high level, it's like a message gets to Luthen and we hear that message loud and clear.
Yep.
We hear it's about the Death Star. We know it's the Death Star. We know they're building, a weapon and all this that's very powerful.
Mhm.
And then here's the key ingredients that are involved. So you need to relay this message.
But they still don't know the term Death Star. Deidre's the only
Right.
one that has said that, so they know it's bad. They know it's a weapon, but
Right.
there's still some questions.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when we get to this episode, it's like that signal is a little weaker, I feel, on purpose. I think this is
I think
like
so. Intentional,
they
right?
intentionally. So Clea is trying to explain it to Andor, but I'm like, why isn't Andor understanding this? Like there's like a loss in translation how important this is. And then in the next episode, right, it goes even worse. The noise, there's more noise into it. So
it's
by the time
so great.
it's like they're playing telephone game, and by the time Andor says it to the rebellion, they're like, it's probably nothing.
it's and I was frustrated, but then I thought, but this is necessary.
Yeah.
So that when they go into Rogue One, they can discover these things, and they are true discoveries, and people are shocked by them. If we reveal it all now, it makes the movie almost irrelevant in some ways.
Right.
But in the movie Rogue One, they're very much discovering Death Star and what it actually is. But this is just extrapolating all that out. It's like Laffy Taffy. It's just like stretching it out. Like we're seeing all the little tidbits before they get to that point. It's so cool. Now you mentioned K2SO. What a great shot here. So the comms are down, and this was a neat little detail. So as the stormtroopers are coming in, they look at the sector that they think that the safe house is in, and they shut down comms in that sector. They basically radio or communicate back to headquarters, and they say this sector shut down everything. And it's like, it's not just main communications, it's like shortwave radio type communications. And I thought, well, that would make sense. The planet is a city. Everything has a grid. Everything has services within that grid or that section. And I'm like, oh yeah, that they could actually do that. If they, if they're in charge, they could just say, yeah, that part, shut it down. Yeah.
Yep.
And then K2S. So anyway, so no communications. K2SO does not just sit on the ship. K2SO springs into action, and it makes for some of the greatest scenes in this. So literally, because he is an Imperial droid, some of the stormtroopers don't know if he's like a good guy or a bad guy.
Right.
They're like, hey, are you with us? And he just walks up to the first stormtrooper and he says, no. And he just slaps him and he just flies off the edge. I'm like, okay, well, this is pretty cool. This is good. Let me remove that.
Yeah, I loved it because
it was so good.
After watching the whole show, I was like, so K2SO, is it the same guy? And it is.
It's the same actor, the voice actor.
The same. Yep. And they showed, there's like some YouTube videos from Disney where they show, him standing in all those
voice
scenes.
Acting. Yeah.
And no, have you seen it where he's playing the character?
Oh, I saw that in Rogue One, but they did that again for
this?
They
did it with Andor.
I have not seen that.
In
it's
the
great.
Kind of behind the scenes, it shows him sitting down drinking with everybody.
Oh,
so he's
cool.
doing all the physical.
He's doing the motions.
All over. Yeah, he's doing the motion stuff.
And
he's like, he's doing some of the lines, but you could tell that they're like just kind of practicing the lines. But it's him being silly, and then it cuts to him talking, and he's like, "I love this character because it allows me, to play the K2SO character." That's like, he kind of describes it as like, I can't remember, the whole personality that K2SO has is this whole like doesn't really care, like but
it reminds me of
whatever
Data in some ways. To your Star Trek reference, because when they're playing the poker or whatever it is they're playing, it's almost like he's trying to figure out human emotions. It's like, what are you doing? It's like you're bluffing, but I'm trying to like do the math equation, but that's not really math. But he's trying to figure that out, and it's part of that personality. I agree. I think it's a great character, and it must be a ton of fun for that actor to actually.
And he's super sarcastic, like the scene where
it's so funny.
Andor, is like, let's get going, and he's like, a thank you.
Yeah, I love that. Those little things, like
because Andor will not give him appreciation.
Do we have a flight plan? What do we? It's just so great. But we'll put a button on episode 11 with this image right here.
Andor hanging out with his sister. Yeah.
And that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Clea, Leia, Andor, Luke. Like, is this like another, like, I mean, she's got the one bun in the back. Like, is this him trying to save his sister? But he doesn't know it's his sister, dude.
They were messing with us. I swear.
It's still messing with me.
Until this episode, until the Luthen Clea episode.
Yep.
I was like, I need to go back and watch season 1. So season 1 is like fading in my memory, right? I remember the highlights, but like I can't tell you about the Clea character in detail.
Yes.
So part of me was like, is it Leia?
Oh yeah.
Like straight up, this is Leia.
Right.
And I was I was actually cool with that. If in this last few episodes, all of a sudden they have a scene with Organa, that dude, and meets up with
his daughter,
Clea, and goes, "How's everything going, my daughter?" And he'd be like,
"That would be crazy."
Clea is Leia.
Clea is Leia.
And then it's like, she's under disguise. It's probably a dumb idea, but my point was, my memory was fuzzy on it, and I was like,
Sure, sure.
could they do that? Because where is she? She's fighting somewhere, right?
She's
A
on
part,
Alderaan. Yeah.
but we don't know specifically what she's doing. This is BBY1, right? Like this is
right before the events of the first movie. Exactly.
right. So obviously it's not Leia, but she kept on putting her hair in a bun.
I know, dude. I'm telling you, I saw that. I'm like, what?
Us.
Quit messing with me. But I at this point, I'm like, is that his sister? Like, tell me. Like, I want to know.
They say it's not.
Killing me.
I think it was gonna be. It's an obvious connection, and I think probably they wrote it.
Thanks, man.
And then they changed their mind. I think that's what they did.
It's something. Yeah, I don't know. Something's up there.
We'll get to that. Obviously, they talked about it in the writers group. There has to be.
So this episode ends with they're in the safe house. The stormtroopers are at the door, and K2SO is en route, in scene. Pick it back up. K2SO is pretty awesome, pretty incredible. So basically, the firefight starts. It's very, very quick. There's a grenade that they throw, like a shock grenade that the stormtroopers throw. And then that's when K2SO comes in and just starts wrecking shop, taking them out one at a time. There's something I wanted to share with you. It was, I don't know how, I still don't know how I feel about this. I was very disturbed, but I also found myself laughing. It was weird. And this is it when he's basically,
yes.
He's
using him as a body shield.
He kills.
He's like a rag doll.
It's like a rag doll. It's so weird, like dark humor. Like, I don't know, but he's using him as a human shield. But he's a droid. He doesn't necessarily need him as a human shield.
Yeah.
But he's just twisting, and his arms are going back and forth. Like, oh my God, so disturbing.
Like he grabbed him and was like, "Well, I need to kill this guy anyway. You guys might as well shoot him."
Let me just give you some nightmare fuel. I'm like, it was so messed up. But anyway, I thought that was wild. So of course K2SO comes in and just takes out everybody, which is great. And they get on the craft and they go back to Yavin,
but there's a little bit of Clay is injured, and that I thought was good
because of the grenade. Yeah.
Because here's the scene, and K2SO just saves the day, and it'd been kind of cheap if you build up all this tension and they're totally gonna die, they're cornered.
Yep.
And then you have K2SO save the day and everyone's fine. But It's like, no, Clea paid a little cost of this, now we're worried about her.
Yes.
It's kind of like Luke Skywalker saving the day in Empire Strikes Back. He comes in and saves everyone. Well, Han, there's a little bit of injury that took place.
Yeah.
It's not just.
And you're still worried about her. Is she going to make it? Is she also going to be a casualty of this series? And what the hell? So they get her on the Andor has to carry her, which once again, K2SO isn't carrying her. Andor is carrying her. I'm like, that's totally his sister.
His sister.
It has to be. Like, the bond is just so strong that he doesn't let the droid carry her. He carries her back to the ship. It's just
that's the scene they cut out.
Killing me.
They cut out a scene where she's like, look, Luthen died for this.
Yeah.
He rescued me from this planet when I was a kid.
Yes.
Oh my God, you're my sister.
Exactly. It's just killing me, man.
Oh my God, now my sister is injured. I have to carry her.
This is my sister. Yeah, I feel that bond.
They're like,
deleted
scene.
Yeah, just cut that off. It kills me. We're gonna touch on that more for sure because I'm just so frustrated. So we cut back to Yavin. This is right before Rogue One. I mean, that's exactly how Saw Gerrera looks.
Days before Rogue One.
Days. We're right there. It's so great. So great. But we have this hologram conversation. Mon Mothma very much looking like Return of the Jedi, Mon Mothma. Or I'm sorry, Empire Strikes Back. No, yes, Return of the Jedi, Mon Mothma. She's got the haircut. She's not as glamorous as she once was because now she's in the rebellion 100%. And so some of that senator stuff is now gone, which is an interesting take. We've seen her in such a light this entire series, season 1, season 2. Now we see her dressed down like this. I thought it was, and she's fighting to try to keep Saw, on her side and try to keep this together. And it's a struggle, and it was a great character developing moment for me because, I got to see her really kind of sort of struggle from this diminished position, and it was interesting.
Yep.
What'd you think about this?
Yeah, it was good. A year has gone by, so she got a haircut and all that.
She got a haircut, yeah.
But yeah, she's transitioned into the Mon Mothma that we know from the other shows and movies, and she's taken on a completely different role. But there was still a little bit of when they were at the council meeting, and maybe that's your next slide. I'm not sure where. He's like, permission to go see my sister.
Well, you and I are convinced, like, right. That's your sister.
She's like, approved. So she's still like, because Andor saved her a year ago, and the rest of them didn't know about that because there's still secrecy going on.
Well, this is funny because this is funny. There was an episode of Rebels. The animated show that followed up Clone Wars. There was an episode of Rebels where they actually rescued Mon Mothma. So this is a weird thing where I think they did that just to keep the continuity with the show. But for me, it kind of works because that's how super secret Andor has been this whole time, right? He's been so like under the radar, so like super secret that the cover story was that the Rebels, the cast from the Rebels cartoon show, actually rescued her, but he couldn't get the credit for that. So it's either a stretch to make the TV show work with the movie or with this show, or it's genius. I don't really know.
In Rebels, did they show the rescue?
Yes.
Okay. So it is like a retcon, basically.
I need to watch that episode again.
But also, I wonder, like, I don't have deep lore knowledge, but does Rebels take place 1 year before BBY? I thought it was a little earlier, though.
It does take place in the same time frame.
Okay.
It's going on simultaneously with these shows, which is why we talked about at the beginning of the show that it's a great time, it's a great sandbox to play in, but at the same time, you can have conflicting stories. If you're trying to maintain a continuity, it gets a little bit messy. And this is an example of where I kind of wish Rebels wasn't a thing. While I liked Rebels and it was cool, this seemed like an unnecessary conflict where obviously Andor being the one to save her makes so much more sense,
right,
within the more serious continuity of the movies and the live action shows. To have an animated series sort of usurp that a little bit I'm fine with it. It's okay.
Yeah, maybe you just gotta you take it with a grain of salt, where you're like,
you have to,
the most continuity is going to be in the high production movies series, and then you'll have less continuity with cartoons and it's animated series, and you'll have I didn't mean it degrading like that.
So derogatory. How dare you?
And you'll maybe even have less with novelizations, and because if you start saying all novelizations are canon, there's continuity issues.
Well, that was the benefit of the old EU, where the novelizations there was a process, and they were canonized, and it was Lucasfilm, it was George Lucas, but they were able to sort of play within the gaps between movies where George wasn't necessarily going to play in those gaps, so he could allow things to happen as long as they didn't contradict what he was doing with his movies, and as long as you played within the bookends of the prequels and sequels, everyone understood where you could go.
Yeah.
But it was everything beyond episode 6 that the things kind of got muddy whenever Disney took over, because there was a massive continuity. There was a massive, I guess not a continuity, but a storyline that continued everything on beyond Return of the Jedi that was all within the bounds of what George Lucas thought was acceptable, because he didn't necessarily plan to make movies going forward. So it had to pass his smell test. But beyond that, it wasn't super restrictive because there was no bookends, they were going to go wherever they wanted to go, basically. And they just had to adhere to his basic loose boundaries. This is a little bit different because you're bookended, which is great. It's an advantage, but it's also a disadvantage because you can only go so far, and you can't contradict what's going to come after.
At least it's not as bad as, like, what was it? Not Ahsoka. The other one. The other one we watched, what was it?
Not Ahsoka. Not which one was it? I can't remember.
Now I have to look it up. Did we do an entire show? So we've done Andor.
We've only talked about Andor on YouTube.
Are you sure?
I'm dead.
Do we just have private conversations about another series?
We've had a lot of private conversations about the other shows that have not been good. That's right.
You were like, I refuse to do a show with you.
It was the Acolyte. Was it the Acolyte?
Acolyte. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I like. Justin, I love you, my friend.
Do you remember Acolyte? And then all of the I can't remember that blue alien that was like not supposed to be in the timeline. Yeah, we just talked about that on the side.
It's horrible.
So it's like, hey, you can't do that. Everyone got really upset. But why is it okay for them to rewrite Mon Mothma's rescue? Is it because it's like you didn't take a character and
That's fair.
put him 100 years? I mean, there's a difference, right? Now I'm defending the otherwise. It's like you didn't say Mon Mothma. We almost did the thing again, right? The Godzilla Mon Mothma.
Yes.
You didn't put her 100 years.
That's in my head, by the way. I'm still like, every time we talk about Mon Mothma, I keep thinking about her as a moth. It's so great.
Yeah. All right. So what's next in the episode?
So we have that and those struggles, and they didn't demote Andor, but they said you're grounded, and so he says, yeah, to your point, can I go see my sister? I mean, she's not my sister, but she's my sister. So he goes, we see. I do love how they were able to wrap some of this stuff up. A lot of these characters have some finality to them. A lot of characters we've gotten to know season 1, season 2, including this guy.
Oh yeah.
Didn't end so well for this guy.
No.
So I guess this is just the way that the cold imperial military justice works. This guy was going to be brought up on charges. They wanted a meeting with him. He was going to sit down and talk to them, and because of the actions of like Deidre and everything else, he was going to have to go to jail.
Yeah.
And he asked for a moment to gather his thoughts. He asked for a moment to gather his thoughts. And then he pulls out it's the DB. I forget the designation of the blaster. It's the same blaster that Han Solo has.
That's what I was like, that's Han Solo's blaster.
The DB, I can't, oh crap. I'm going to be crucified now. DB7, DB9. Anyway, he pulls out a blaster. And this scene was so good. And this is what kills me. Even these little scenes that shouldn't mean much were so good. The bald guy, the half bald guy, goes in, talks to him. He's like, "Hey, they want me to bring. You've got to come upstairs. You got to talk to them." He's like, "Well, give me a moment." He walks out of the room, knowing full well what's about to happen.
Yep.
The man pulls out the blaster, and the scene on the bottom, we hear the blaster bolt go off, And then the stormtroopers want to react, but the guy puts his hand up, like you see in the image.
Mm-hmm.
Puts his hand up, like, nope, just wait. Like it's. I thought this was so well done. I don't know why I dug this so much, but it was so cool, so slick, so just like it was just understood. What do you think about this exchange?
It was good, and this is shows the power that Palpatine has. Palpatine's not in the show at all, but he's name dropped a handful of times, and then here it's like he ain't gonna face him because it's not gonna be good.
I would rather just kill myself. Yeah. I'd rather end it now than face the Emperor. It's just and the pressure and the decision is so understood that other officers in ISB they just know. They're just like, okay, yeah, I'd probably do the same thing. Yeah, just give him a minute. Just wait. It was a great scene. I thought it was a great scene. Sad, sure.
Sometimes I feel the same way whenever my boss asks me to come into his office.
I hope you never feel that way.
No, I'm kidding.
That's horrible. So we have Andor's been reprimanded. They slapped his hand. No. And then of course the events of the movie are beginning to kick in, and they've got some intel, but they only want to talk to Andor, and they need him to go find out what this guy knows, because we're still very much picking up the bread trails of this super weapon, and we need to know more about it. And so in the rebels' desperation, they know they have to call Andor to action one more time to go out there and find out what's going on. Bail Organa goes to his house and talks to him, and
like,
Bail Organa himself,
he's like, is Clea my daughter or your sister?
Do you know what's going on? And Andor's like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
And then
he's like, killing me.
I looked in the mirror, and why do I look slightly different?
Why exactly? It's weird. I love this scene because obviously I wish that the great Jimmy Smits could have done this.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, but I understand. It would have been great to see him here because he's portrayed the character in everything else. So I hope that Jimmy Smits can sleep at night knowing he missed out on this. But he utters a phrase that hasn't been said in this entire show.
Yeah.
May the Force be with you.
That was pretty
I thought
good.
That was it carries so much weight for me because Bail Organa remembers the Jedi when they had the Jedi Temple, when they were in their prime, when the Jedi Council was complete. He remembers that.
Yeah.
So I think when he issues that blessing or goodwill wish, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It carries so much weight for me because of the character and what the character has seen and gone through and what the character knows. He knows there's a few Jedi out there still in hiding. He knows Yoda and Obi-Wan are out in hiding. And it was just such a great exchange because of the weight that it carries. And to me, it connects the sword and sorcery of Jedi with the grounded human world of Andor.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that this carried so much weight. This exchange. Am I reading too much into it? What do you think?
No, it was a special moment. The show doesn't say "May the Force be with you." They had little glimpse of the spiritual healing that we talked about last week.
Yes.
But knowing the roots of this character, it was like he can say it. We will allow it, and it can be a good moment.
Yes, 100%. I just love that connection.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I guess I loved it, but it's killing me. So we see this image right here.
Come on,
I know. And then who wakes up from this dream? It's not Clea. It's Andor, and I just don't. Justin, help me.
This was the scene where they showed his sister.
Yes.
And I was like, is this the Clea flashback?
Yes. This is the last time he saw his sister was when he ran off with the group, right, to go investigate this ship that crash landed. That was the last time he saw his sister. I mean, it's gut wrenching. If we really don't see his sister, if Clea is not his sister, then the man has searched and never found his sister.
There's two outcomes. She died right away as a child.
Sure.
Or she was taken like some other and sold into sex slave. That's why he was looking for her. I said that.
No, that's episode. Right? No, you're right. You're right. That's episode 1. That's
why he was there.
He was at the brothel trying to find his sister. Yeah.
And she died somewhere in that process. Or the better is it's Clea.
Yes.
And I'm also fine with he never knew it was her.
Oh,
I think with everything else going on with the show, I think they could have right there in this scene or in the last episode, they could have been like, that's his sister. The audience knows. And you're like, oh, there's going to be they're going to reunite. They never reunite. They never put it together. Then he dies and he never knows that's his sister. And that's fine. There's a lot. So my wife will not watch this show.
I understand.
She's like, I know how it ends. I didn't like how everyone died in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And she's like, so I'm just gonna get connected to all these characters that get killed. And I think partly true.
I think it's a real issue, when you understand the characters, when you know the characters end.
Yeah.
It makes a lot. We're gonna go through this. It makes a lot of this stuff so much more. It's harder to process when you consider that one of the last things we see him do before the events of the movie is dream about his sister and never finding her.
But he did.
It's you and I think he did. I mean,
but he never knew. But see,
he never knew.
The reason I'm okay with the Clea sister story, if you want to that's the theory we're going to go with.
Yes.
What we believe. Mm-hmm. There's so much in this show that will not give you closure.
That's horrible.
And that's kind of the tension of the show. So why not throw in this entire time, that was the sister you were looking for, no closure. The end.
It's hard enough to know that Andor doesn't get the closure, but if the audience could get the closure, if they could say definitively,
we can believe it, and then there's just no closure scene. We have closure, but Andor dies.
But if we as the audience knew that was his sister definitively, we could at least that could be closed as far as the issue.
No, here it is. Andor doesn't get closure. You don't get closure.
I think that's what they're doing, and it's horrible. It's absolutely gut wrenching. It really is.
They probably put it together. They're like, look, if we say it's Clea, no one will talk about it. But if we go like, don't you think it's Clea?
Come on.
And then deny it?
You're probably right. Damn it, you're probably right. And it could be genius, but it's gut wrenching. Maybe that's why it's genius. I don't know. It's horrible because we know his fate. But let's talk about something that's not horrible. Let's talk about something that is resolved. What did you think about this? Brother, talk to me. What did you think about this?
Call back to season 1 where she's now in prison. So, yeah.
I mean, the prisons, some of those prison episodes were so great, so good. So,
what this made me think is, check this out, right? A year from now, this is actually a question I had. So, I don't know, a week or two from now, the Death Star is going to be blown up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And a couple of years later, a second Death Star is created in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I think it's 3 years total between the 3 movies, yeah.
And then that one's destroyed. Uh-huh. So in my head, I was thinking about 5 years, but maybe it's less. Maybe it's like 3.
Right.
The Empire's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So is she going to be out hanging out with What
with
is
the
her future?
Mandalorian.
Man, I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know.
yeah. No,
Is she
no,
going to be freed or is she stay in prison?
well, it's a fair question because we're not talking about that many years,
All right.
and we're talking about the events of the Mandalorian, which I think take place 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So that would be 8 to 10 years from now ish. She's not going to be dead. So could she technically be a character that exists in that universe? Possibly. It could be
It,
interesting.
yeah, and maybe they'll just close the tie on it. But the other thing is, Disney spent all this time developing these characters, and she's powerful. She's a
Yes.
powerful character, and in the Star Wars universe, she's a powerful person. So who's to say that she doesn't get out of the prison, escape from prison? Perhaps she's powerful enough to do that. Andor did it.
Sure. Sure.
And then she might be let go because they free everyone in 5 years anyway, because all those people that are arrested are not all criminals, right? Maybe out on parole.
Maybe.
But my point is like, why wouldn't she show up in another episode, another show?
I mean, she's an interesting character with a rough background. She was rigid. She was angry. She was militant. She allowed herself to love. Cyril dies at the hands of someone she was chasing for years. That person she was chasing for years ends up unearthing plans to the Death Star, which leads to destruction. I mean, she could be an incredibly complex character.
Mm-hmm.
Adding 10 more years to that character.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it really could be interesting.
It could be a show that they make in 10 years from now, where that actress has actually aged
appropriately. Yeah.
And then she joins the Resistance or the New Republic or whatever.
That would at least be
one
interesting.
Of the powerful people a part of that because she's evil.
She's absolutely. I mean, at this point, she's almost irredeemable. But it was kind of cool to see her back in that same sort of cell that we saw in season 1. We had a lot of fun there. Another character that kind of pretty much put a bow around this guy and wrap him up. He is shallow, and this is what you get. You have the money and you have the privilege, but there's absolutely nothing rewarding about it. And he looks at her with just this person with disdain and just takes another drink because it's just an empty, hollow life he has.
I remember hearing that was like this scene was I should look it up. I don't know. I think it was something like that is his daughter's like
I think so.
husband's mother or something like that.
Yeah, that's his daughter's mother-in-law. Yes.
Right. And then
I think it's
he's
the same
drinking
one.
again or something, and he shouldn't be drinking. I don't
know. He takes the bottle from her. She's passed out. She's got the bottle and pours himself a drink and just drinks it. He's just trying to numb himself. He's going through the motions. His life is empty. His wife is doing something that means something.
Was like, oh God.
And these scenes continue. We have this, which is a massive Easter egg, premonition. This is going to be Rogue One. This
Saw was Gerrera. In Andor.
Yes.
Scene? Oh, dude, feels like we're in Rogue One at this.
We're
point.
Like days away from Rogue One. Basically, it's Rogue One is about to happen. You have Saw Gerrera standing there.
You switched to a Rogue One picture.
No. Well, if this has got you,
this is just as it's ending.
This is as it's ending. This is just the images they're showing us. We have Andor walking away with the longest hero shot of all time. He's walking away. This took far too long, in my opinion. We had this shot.
Yeah.
Before the radar dish is coming into play. We had this shot. Andor is on the ship with K2SO. They're going to go to which is going to be the opening scene of Rogue One. So we're leading right into that. And trying to prepare myself for this final shot. You know what it is.
Yeah.
We got to talk about it. I think I hate this character so much.
You hate Bix?
Bix. Okay,
What?
let me give you my rant, and then you can respond, and you can. It's fine. Bix leaves Andor. She doesn't allow him to make the decision to stick and stay with the rebellion and follow his heart and because of honor and duty and all that. She abandons him, so he just does it because that's all he has left. Now we find out that she goes back to the same planet where the guy that was harboring them turns on them and betrays them.
Do we know it's the same planet?
Yeah, I'm assuming so. And
it looks
and
like
she also has his child. He's gonna die and doesn't even know about his own child.
Yeah,
he should have been allowed to know.
She doesn't know that.
Damn
he
it.
doesn't know that.
No, they're showing us this is wrong. He should have known that he had a child, and then
Val
he could have
was
made
trying to tell him. Did you catch
No.
that? Val's
No.
like, you should talk.
That's
to
not
her.
good enough. This
you
is
should
so
talk to her."
wrong.
And he's
This
like,
is
she
so
wouldn't want
wrong.
me to. You should let. You
Bix
should
is
let
a whore,
her
and
decide.
she sits there and smiles. It's horrible. He should have known what he was giving up. He dies not knowing
If
he's a
he would
father.
have known, he wouldn't go through with it,
Of-
and then
maybe not.
everybody dies.
Maybe not, but maybe he would have. But he would have done it
Yeah.
knowing.
Look at Fist of Love. He's like, how do we know that's his baby?
Well,
maybe,
then either she's an
maybe
evil
that's
person,
the guard, and maybe
or
he
she's a
went little
whore.
further
I don't
than-
know. Maybe who
Yeah, there's
knows?
that.
It's. I saw this and I was mad at Bix for just abandoning him, right? And I'm even more mad at her now for we're just going to assume this is his child. To have his child and to keep that information from him is so incredibly wrong. I wish they would have never shown this.
Yeah, but they
because
had to.
It's horrible.
This was the final scene they were actually talking about. That they
Oh
were
my-
like, we knew the final scene is going to be Andor has a baby. And they cut out the next scene. The director's cut was her holding the baby, and the baby starts to cry a little bit. And she's like, oh, kissing the forehead, trying to calm it down, and goes, oh, Poe.
Oh no, stop it. No, God, I'm out here. I'm done. I'm leaving. No, stop. It's just
Poe
it's-
is Andor's son.
Oh, God. I don't understand why in the holy hell would you do that? Like, just have Bix on the planet. But
This is you don't
What are
like
you-
no closure and
dude,
and
it's
bad
horrible.
endings.
So his sister,
Did you like Romeo and Juliet?
the movie or the book?
The book, the movie, it doesn't matter. The story.
Okay, yes, I did.
You're like, they died at the end. Oh,
but they
God.
but okay, no, listen. It was an informed decision. They looked in each other's eyes. They loved
What are
each.
you
Well,
talking
okay,
about?
technically, okay.
they
he
didn't
was,
know the other one was alive.
Right, but yes, okay. I granted, but they were young love, and they were sacrificing each other for each other, not knowing that the other one was alive. It's horrible.
Sure.
I know. I get it. But I did like that. I did. But this is levels and layers above that. So it's one thing to sacrifice yourself for your love, your one true love, even though that they weren't really dead. But anyway, that's one thing. To have a woman leave you and abandon you, and you stay with the rebellion because that's all you know, that's all you have. And then we know as the audience that she has his child. So she leaves him, which is fine, that's her choice. But the child, like the knowledge of that, it's not her information.
You're not
she
looking
can't
at it
keep that
right.
from him.
You're not look. Yeah,
It's wrong.
I don't disagree with it. It's wrong. But that's
wrong.
not what the story was trying to tell you. What the story was trying to tell you is, by this point, you know he's dead. We all, very few
horrible.
people
Yes.
right now, there will be some people that watch Andor first, in the future that never saw Rogue One, right?
Okay. Okay.
Like there's
Okay.
people that are 10 years old right now or 15 that have never watched Rogue One. They'll grow up, they'll get into Star Wars, they'll watch Andor, and they won't know what happens to Andor until they watch Rogue One.
Sure.
But for right now, this show is for us. This show is for people that already watched Andor.
Exactly.
So we know
We
he
know what
dies.
happens. Yes.
So they were giving you peace and saying, yes, he dies, but he lives on through his child.
God.
That's
Oh,
what they
no,
were
no.
saying. They're like,
I
hey, we know he dies. She survives. And so is his child. So Andor lives through the child.
I understand
And
that.
they will be just fine because she smiles, she's good, she's happy, the baby doesn't cry. They're safe. They're safe. There is no wars around them. They're going to survive all the way through the chaos of episode, A New Hope, Jedi. You are right that it's unfair for Andor to go into a mission not knowing what he is giving up. But also, they were giving us peace.
Imagine the impact of him looking. Bix is saying, no, don't go. Bix is saying, no, don't go. I love you. We love you. And he looks at her dead in her eyes and saying, I can't live in the world. I can't allow you to live in the world that is controlled by the Empire. For our child, I can't do it. I have to give everything I have for you. It's like he didn't know fully what he was sacrificing. And that's such a wasted opportunity. I think I understand your point, and it's a valid point. I get it, and it's a cool angle. I get it. For me, maybe it's just me selfishly. Andor should have known what he had, what he was giving up, because it makes him more of a hero. It makes his sacrifice sting a little bit more. I think it's. I'm
hear you,
struggling
but
with this
I can't.
part. I'm struggling.
From a writer's room point of view, I think there's no other way. If you're like, no, hold on. I'm going to rewrite it. We've chosen that they're having a child. That's happening. They have a child. So now we're going to go through the scenario of he learns about the child in the previous arc. He pushes her away and says, you have to take care of my child. I'm going away without you. And then Tony Gilroy says, okay, we could do that, but then how do we end this show? I need a moment that's epic. And this show has no resolution that you cannot, because you can't resolve anything in this show. The only resolution they can do, and I think this is what Tony Gilroy meant, I already know what the final scene is. And I think the final scene was, there's a baby.
There's a baby. Do you think?
And he's like, that's the only thing I can. It's a surprise. He had a kid.
Hey, do you think? And this is speculation on our part. We have no idea. Do you think that there were going to be more than 2 seasons of Andor, and then they shut it down, so they had to?
I think so. They did season 1.
It feels like that.
They did season 1, and then they were hoping they could do multiple
5
seasons.
4 seasons.
And then they were like, we'll give you $600 million if you just wrap it up. They did a Back to the Future, In Back to the Future 2 and 3, they asked for $67 million to do 2 episodes, which was like, I don't know, more money than what it would cost to do
it's a lot of money
one movie, but like to do 2, it was a good deal. I also heard another point of view on that $680 million is if you see them as 4 epic movies,
I guess
that each movie was like,
I mean, I guess
a
if you
couple
break it
hundred
down that
million
way,
dollars.
if you break it down that way,
Yeah, because
that
they
makes some
are
sense.
very movie quality.
No, the quality is great. The quality is really good, and it's something we talked about in season
It's like a
one.
10-hour runtime for. Is that right? Is it both? I was doing the math. I was like,
It's like 45 minutes at least per episode,
yeah.
average.
And
Yeah,
then there's what is it? 22 episodes altogether?
we had yeah, I think total. Yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking like imagine doing a marathon where you're like, I'm gonna watch all of Andor, and then it's basically the story of the Death Star. The Death Star
yes.
saga. Death Star
Well,
1
so
saga.
okay, well, if you're gonna do that though, you have to watch at least the last scene of Revenge of the Sith, episode 3, because at the very end of episode 3, they have that you have Darth Vader in the suit and Palpatine, and they're looking out the window at the Death Star, the ring, the initial formation of it. Um, so you have to start there, and you have to have all this, and you have to have Rogue One, and then you have to have Episode 4
Yep. And then there
to
you
get
go.
the totality of that one structure being built and destroyed. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of content. So I
Yes,
was looking
sir.
at that and was like, there is so much runtime in Andor. I mean, it's a series given, but
True.
then
True.
like all you have outside of that is Rogue One and New Hope. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the production quality of both Andor are obviously it's a series, so just the way the drama unfolds is different, and it kind of lingers a little bit more than a movie would.
And that's good. You could forgive that. Sure.
I wonder if you could edit it. Like if you were to
Oh, I'm sure you could.
like if I'm actually I heard about that. There was a rumor that they're thinking of bringing Rogue One back to the theater.
I heard they're gonna have like 4 episodes of the series as like a prequel or
A teaser
sort of a,
almost.
yeah. Well, no, it's gonna be like a full length movie that will precede Rogue One. They're gonna take so many episodes and cut them together. I saw an article about this.
Yeah, I think I read that article.
Yeah, so that
That'll
could
be fun.
work.
I
No,
might go
I
to the
wouldn't.
theater to
I
watch
would
that.
not be mad about that at all. I would absolutely go see that. I think it's great. That would be really good.
And it's kind of
Um,
genius too if you're
oh
like,
yeah,
okay, we're gonna bring back Rogue One to the theater. Also with these Andor teasers, if it turns out to be really good, then those people will be like, oh, I gotta watch the whole thing, right? Let me get
well,
Disney Plus.
it's a great no, it's a great selling tool. If you can edit that in a way that doesn't give away the entire series, I guess that's what you'd have to kind of do.
Yeah.
That could be tricky, but it's almost like you could have a Rogue One prequel made out of this series, really. But I don't know. Could you potentially make another series that runs in tandem with Andor with the other characters of Rogue One? Is it possible that Rogue One and Andor is so popular that there's an appetite for the
I'm
other characters
very
in Rogue
curious
One?
about that.
Aren't you?
Very
You see where I'm
curious.
going with this? You see where
So
I'm going with this?
I was
Yeah.
talking to a guy at work, and he hasn't watched this yet, and I was telling him about how there's these rumors that like the views of Andor are like really high, and
Oh yeah.
he's like, how do they know that? The numbers haven't been published yet. Like the final numbers haven't been published yet. Like he was take it with a grain of salt. This is just water cooler talk. But it was something like the full streaming numbers published. Some things are collected by Nielsen, right?
Sure.
And so Nielsen collects like an aggregate of information. But it's which I think is an estimated number at certain points.
I was going to ask how do you have any idea how they gather that when it comes to streaming?
I believe, because I've worked for various companies that we had to integrate Nielsen, and what I always heard was it's a sampling. And so
okay.
I remember, I think I lived in California, and there was like the Nielsen office was there in like Southern California. And someone was telling me that how that office works is they have these special set-top boxes, at least they did in the early 2000s. I don't know how it works with
I
streaming now.
remember that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think with streaming, some of the data is sent to Nielsen. But anyway, they publish like a percentage of their sampling. It's like we sample X amount of people. It's like a focus group, if you will. How many of them tuned in? And then based on that sampling, they can extrapolate some type of like viewership number.
Oh, okay.
But I think with streaming, it's much more accurate these days because it's like everyone's connected to the internet. So you can literally be like, this exact number of people were watching.
I would think that would be available, probably only to Disney though, and they would have to share that with
R-
someone else.
Right.
So it's
Right.
kind of like they'll share it if it's favorable to what they're doing. Maybe.
Right. So there's obviously Disney's a publicly traded company, so they release some of the information quarterly.
Right.
So the Andor season falls. The Andor season 2 started after they had just revealed some earnings numbers and things like that. So the
Mhm.
probably, to my understanding, is it's not for a few more weeks that all of the information, the totality of Andor's success will come out. And plus, just because a show is released and then the season finale happens, there's still this like wake, of like viewership is still, the people are still watching it. You know
That
what I
that
mean?
that's a good
Not
that's
everyone's finished it.
that's a really good point. This isn't live TV. This isn't prime time. This is by its very nature, a streaming service. You can watch it anytime. You can binge it anytime. So when do they say something's done? When do they calculate the impact of an episode is complete? I mean,
And I know I've read articles, there's
no
some
idea.
shows that don't do well when they release, and then something happens and the show starts picking up steam and more just
Well,
later.
I think you and I may have experienced that too with a video or a short or
Yeah.
something we
Yeah.
did, and it just doesn't do anything in the beginning. We put it out there and it just sort of just flatlines, and you think, okay. And then all of a sudden, like to your point, something happens and it catches fire and just takes off. It could just be the nature of the internet.
Yeah, there was this article I remember reading. It's on Reddit. The title is Andor has pulled in over $300 million in subscriber revenue for Disney Plus.
Now, how do they calculate that? Is that new subscribers?
I think what they're doing, they're trying to, I don't know. This
Ah,
is just some headline on the Star Wars Reddit subreddit or whatever. Um,
interesting.
Someone is correlating subscriptions. I don't know. Recently, when you read the internet about the success of Andor, everything that I've been reading is like it's really good. And back to our main point, is it possible that this show could be good enough that they're like, hey, we need how do we do another season? How do we greenlight
Well,
another
I think
Andor
no, I
season?
think I think that no, you're so I'm this is an article from Forbes. Andor quietly reaches the number 2 spot on streaming charts. This is May 13th this article came out.
I think this season has been
Hmm.
so good. It's like it's doing well.
Yeah, it says so Disney has been bafflingly quiet about the success of its latest Star Wars series. The second season of Andor is actually performing quite well with viewers, at least according to streaming data presented by Illuminati. Not us.
Not us.
Other another Illuminati. Um yeah, it's hmm.
I was reading
S-
that the IMDb ratings for episode 8 are
mhm.
like 9.8 or something like that. And it's
Well,
it's up there with Mandalorian's best
it's
episode.
so they're saying it's also partly due to the fact that the Andor is much it's that Andor is much darker, more adult series with a slower paced spy story. I think that okay, so if you take for example, if you look at the Marvel movies, they did really well. You take movies like obviously Infinity War had a dark ending. But it was kind of a culmination of everything. But if you look at things like Winter Soldier, where it was more of a spy sort of thriller, that's one of the most highly rated Marvel movies ever. Um, it was because of, I think, that the themes, the tone of a mature audience, which is basically the audience that is Star Wars fans, Marvel Comics fans, men, women in their 40s and 50s that are kind of wanting something that doesn't cut against the entire narrative or the nature or the feel of the originals, but gives it a slightly more realistic tone or more realistic view of what they consider to be, great sci-fi or superhero stuff. I don't know. I think it makes. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But you you can't really, obviously you can't advance the story because it ends where Rogue One starts.
Yeah.
So do we go back to what we just said? Other stories of other characters that move in parallel with the events of this show, and then do you try to intertwine them, or does that become too much like a multiverse and it gets convoluted and silly?
Yeah, I wonder if they'll greenlight another show that follows in the same. I heard Tony Gilroy is done for a couple years. He's going to take a break from Star Wars.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but maybe they'll be like, we need another show like Andor. And if someone from the writers group or from, that's trying to write new Star Wars shows comes to Disney with like, hey, I got this idea for a show, kind of like Andor, except for it's this time period and here's the character. It goes to show if you compare what has been successful as a series, it's Mando and Andor. So what do they have in common? Like, yes, there's a little bit of Jedi going on in Mandalorian, but people fell in love. Yeah, people fell in love with Mandalorian in season 1.
Oh yeah.
And there was
right
not
away.
a ton of Force. I mean, there was like we got little teases of it in a couple episodes. And maybe we need more of that.
I think you're right. I think the spaghetti western
Mhm.
that Mando started out to be.
That's all it needed to be ever.
I think it just could have just stayed there.
Yeah.
You showed your love for Star Wars by showing off Star Trek.
Yeah.
Star Trek was so good at having episodes that told a contained story within that episode and moved on. It was episodic, but it didn't tell this long narrative story that required you to watch every single episode. You could just jump in, watch an episode, and leave, right?
Yeah.
Mando could have been that. It could have been a spaghetti western. It could have been in an unlawful time, when the Empire was destroyed, but order wasn't established. So the rebels hadn't really sort of got the New Republic together quite yet. So you could have had that time of turmoil. It was the Wild West on a galactic front. And it could have been something like that. And the beauty of that, old TV shows knew this, you can do that forever.
Yeah.
If it's self-contained episodes that have little self-contained stories that have life lessons or interesting science fiction concepts or anything, big ideas, you could just do that forever. I mean, 5, 6, 7, 10 seasons if it's a good show, So who's to say that you can't continue to do that within maybe the confines of episode 3 and episode 4, within that time frame? Could we see a series about Donnie Yen's character from Rogue One? I mean, he was an interesting character. He kind of knew of the Force, but he wasn't a Jedi, but he was blind and he was like a ninja, and it was interesting. And I don't know, but I think that there's no replacement for really good writing and really good storytelling. And the issues I have with the show are not because it's sucked or bad acting. It was like decisions that they made, but they're thought provoking, right? And we talk about them, and that's interesting, and it's a critique, but it's not a critique on the quality. It's like a decision that they made, and it's great for discussion and what would have I done differently and all that. I think it's a mark of a good show. Not that you agree with everything that happened, but it gets you talking.
Here's a pitch of my story. Coruscant. As the Empire starts to take over, there is a law firm and a private detective, some stormtroopers, and every episode is basically Law and Order meets Star Wars.
Dun, 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 dun.
So you lean more into the action pack of Star Wars, but at a high level, you're just ripping off Law and Order, which went on forever. Because all you got to do is like, okay, so in this episode, the cops, so there's Imperial Guards,
yeah,
they go and catch someone, but like someone on the inside that's like, I don't know, defending them. I don't know how it would work, but you know what I mean? The point is like, you've done the spaghetti Western. And I was just thinking of like, look at Suits. Like Suits was awesome and was like a ton of seasons because all you had to do was create drama around law firms and, like this person screwing over this person.
Well, I mean, in this play, it's perfect. It's just like fertile ground. Like you have a republic that is becoming much more of an empire.
Right.
It's much more totalitarian, and you have factions within this underneath this government that is rising up, and it's just
create conflict and
take your pick. It could be.
You can have heroes anywhere.
Sure, heroes that
doesn't have to be Jedi.
Well, they could be flawed heroes. There could be, shady paths. They don't make all the best decisions, which make for the best heroes. Look at Han Solo. Yeah, he was a scoundrel, but everybody wanted to be him. Everybody loved him. He was complex. You could live within this world for a very long time until you come up with a really good idea to forward the story on. But they've sort of shot themselves in the foot with the sequel trilogy. I think there's no replacement for good writing, for great storytelling. So set it in whatever point in time in Star Wars lore, as long as it just has to be good and realistic in some ways, like grounded in something that we can identify with. If it's too fanciful, it's unattainable. You can't identify it. It's just sort of just wild and out there and obtuse and weird. But Star Trek, original Star Wars, they touched on real themes that people could identify with. That there were moral quandaries that people from any time could identify with and struggle with.
An entire show on Naboo.
The Naboo Chronicles.
So it's before the prequel.
Before the prequels. Ooh, before the prequels. Okay.
But on Naboo.
Okay.
Before Padme.
Before Padme.
Maybe 20, 50 years.
Oh, we could explore
plenty of room.
Well, you could explore the Gungan separation from the Nabooians.
Yeah, maybe Jar Jar's a baby. Baby Jar Jar.
Boom. Baby Jar Jar. Oh, you just made it.
No. Baby Jar Jar, but he's super cute.
He's super cute. Like, Misa, a toy in the mall. He's a plushie. But the whole segregation between the two, the Gungans, and the Nabooians, Nabooians, I don't know. Yeah. There's a whole story there, a backstory. Then you could end the whole series with the Trade Federation coming in. It's like, oh, I don't know. I think
Show's over.
Show's over.
We were all building up to the Trade Federation. Like,
and then the Trade Federation
and
done.
Now you can watch episode 1.
And then that's it. And then it just takes you right in episode 1. I don't know. I don't hate that idea.
Oh my God. Do we just crack the code? It's like, okay, so Andor was really good. So what was Andor? Andor is
what else we got?
To A New Hope. What if we do a prequel to episode 1?
A prequel to the prequel. A prequel to the very first prequel. And we just have like 10 years or 5 years or whatever leading up to that first episode and just do it. And if the writing is good, I think we could do. We'd probably like it. Some kind of a young Qui-Gon Jinn story. I have no idea.
You could have some fun with that. It's like, how about episode 1 starts with there's a mother, and there's a baby, and the baby is Anakin. It's like it's a prequel to the prequel, but Anakin's like a month old.
He's an infant. Yes, he's a baby.
And every now and then, like Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yes,
but it's the Anakin Chronicles. But there's multiple things going on, right? They're just showing other chaos going in other planets, and you just keep on coming back to Shmi or whatever her name
Tatooine.
is. Yeah. And she's dealing with like what's that guy? The gangster that like owns them and stuff.
Oh crap.
Guido.
Yeah, Guido. Yeah. He's like, and that's like the fun. Like, he's making me work late again. Oh no. It could be good. So I guess Watto. Thank you.
Watto.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Watto. Guido, Yato, Watto.
Yeah.
I guess so. Man, it kind of sucks, but final thoughts on the final episodes, the series finale of Andor. I mean, if you could sum it up, what do you think?
Andor? Mandalorian?
It's a perfect conglomerate. The Andalorian.
I don't know. High levels. Andor goes to prison, breaks out, dies.
But he
saves the day.
You can sum it up.
He's responsible for getting the initial information to the rebellion that the Death Star was a thing. And if it wasn't for that, then he wouldn't have rebelled against the rebellion to go get the information, even though they told him not to. And then that eventually got the information to Princess Leia, and Princess Leia then gave it to Obi-Wan. And then Obi-Wan the information just keeps going, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then he gave that information to the rebellion, who gave the information to Luke Skywalker, who, if it wasn't for his skills as a kid of shooting wombats, or what are they called again?
Womp rats. Yep.
Womp rats. He never would have destroyed the Death Star.
Yeah. It's poetry. It all just works together. Everything had to line up. It had to be all kind of be, come together at the perfect time. And it did. And that's the beauty of Star Wars. Man, I got to tell you, if it wasn't for season 3 of The Mandalorian, this would have some real competition, but I don't think that it does, because you can't just discount an entire series or a season of a show, no matter how much you want to. Mandalorian, unfortunately, falls apart in season 3. This has a definitive beginning, a definitive end. They knew where they wanted to go. Maybe they got there a little bit quicker than they wanted to, but they still get there, and it makes sense, and there's great acting and the special effects, and I think this is absolutely worth a watch. If you're watching this and you haven't seen one episode, you definitely need to check it out, because it's definitely worth the ride. It's going to leave you with some questions, but almost everything is going to be resolved. And I think that's a pretty good thing that a show can do, is leave you with some questions, sure, but also have the big stuff sort of wrapped up and concluded in a way that's pretty satisfying.
Yeah. So what do you think about us? The show is over, and you and I, we had a really good time doing season 1, hanging out with some people. We came back. We did it for season 2. And that's it.
No, we're gonna find something to talk about.
It's another saga that has no resolution.
Do not sing closing time. I'm gonna cry. But we are gonna watch something else. So yes, while Andor is over, and we've enjoyed ourselves, Justin and I will find something else to get into, and I will talk him into doing a show with me if it kills me. That's my promise to
Let's start
you,
doing
the
movie
audience.
reviews together.
Okay. I had an old show called 2-minute reviews. We'll do 4-minute reviews.
There we go.
And I'll talk for 2 minutes and you can talk for 2 minutes. We'll just review
Pretty
random movies.
Hey, one of the meanest comments I've ever got is that I look like Roger Ebert.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'll be Siskel and we're good to go.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll just bring it back.
We'll work on some AI thumbnails.
That'd be great.
Let's start with our review of Mission Impossible.
Which one? The first one?
No, there's a new one coming out in like 10 days.
Well, but if we do the first one, we can do them all leading up to. I like it. Justin's like, oh my God, Fox is giving me so much homework. It's so
much homework.
I have so many movies to watch. Everybody, if you like this content, if you like hanging out with us talking about movies, do me a giant favor, smash the like button and comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about all this. Did you enjoy this? I really hope you did, not just our commentary, but the show itself, because I think that for once, we got some pretty good content. We got some pretty good Star Wars stuff, something worth talking about, something worth enjoying, something worth sharing with the people you love. Justin, thank you so much, as always, brother, for being here with me.
Yep.
Everybody, thank you so much for being here. And we'll see all of you, hopefully, right back here next time. Peace.